Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You remember the raids that were expected to happen back in June in 10 major U.S. cities that were later called off in an unprecedented announcement by President Trump. Well, those raids are back on. Expected to happen on Sunday and last several days. The target of these raids will be at least 2,000 undocumented immigrants with current removal orders. But how these raids might be different is they will also include collateral arrests, meaning even if an undocumented immigrant is not the target of a raid but happens to be on the scene of one, they too may be detained by ICE officials. According to the New York Times, the Trump administration's goal in these raids is to send a strong message to those who are thinking about crossing the southern border.
Yeah, back on, back off. Let the immigration battle begin up again. And once again, nothing's going to get done. Politics is such a sham anymore. Watching, so what happened? So Trump announces this is going to happen. So everybody takes to their microphones and starts coming out and doing what they do, which is to talk about, hey, wait a minute. Let's paint the picture. Now, remember, these are people that are essentially told you've got to leave. You've got an order to leave. And now collateral damage. If you're essentially knowing this person should leave, you're harboring this person, whatever it is, family member, this, that, and the other, that person's putting you at risk and vice versa. Do I think it's going to be a winning solution? I do not. Do I think it's the worst thing in the world? No, because we've gotten to the point now where we tell ICE you can't even get the bad people out of here. This is what's funny. Listening to Chuck Schumer today talk about, hey, well, look,
Donald Trump and some of his right-wing allies in the media and elsewhere would like Americans to believe these are all hardened criminals. They are not.
No, they're not. But the problem is you've gotten to the point where you've made it such a crazy world where ICE isn't even allowed to go into the jails in some occasions to get bad people out, or you let people out the back door. It's ridiculous. It's funny. People are like, Democrats don't want open borders. No, what they want is not really an open border. Let's just do enough for show, but let's ignore it. Not everybody come here who wants to come here. But if you're coming here, hey, come on. We're not going to do anything. Really not. We're not going to do anything. It's frustrating as hell. It is. It is. Even some people who tweet at me every day, who are uber progressive, say, well, I don't want open borders. I'm like, well, what do you want? Well, I mean, we should respect the asylum law. So if we respect the asylum law and we go by the numbers, that about 95% or so, give or take 93%, 92%, somewhere in there, will not be granted asylum based on the law we have. That means those people must leave. The problem is people say, well, we should respect the law. And then you say, okay, well, guess what? They're not granted asylum. Well, we don't want them to leave. So at that point in time, what do we have? Got nothing. You got nothing.
They're absolutely going to happen. There's approximately 1 million people in this country with removal orders. Of course, that isn't what ICE will go after in this. But that's the pool of people who've been all the way through the due process chain.
So what you want? Let me get this correct, right? Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and everybody else. And I think and if you listen to the show, you know what? I sympathize, I empathize with these people. We need to do a better job about getting people here, whether it's temporary work visas, things of that nature. We need to make it an easier process. But what you're telling me is essentially, even if they go through the system, which you say we need to abide by, and it comes out against them, and they have removal orders, that you still don't think they should be removed. Tell me that's not open borders then. What exactly is that? So I'm supposed to play by, you want us all to play by the rules you set up. Okay, fine. Right? So I play by those rules. You tell me and everybody else out there, they have a right to apply for asylum. Okay, so they apply for asylum. They wait 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They get a hearing. They're here for economic reasons. They're not being suppressed by their government, blah, 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 blah. They go through the whole thing. They maybe appeal it. They're told, no, sorry, it doesn't meet the statute and the standards of what we have right here. You have now 30 days to get out of the country. They're still in the country. So they've done everything through the legal manner that you want us to do. And then you're saying, well, no, that's not fair. We shouldn't have them leave. Then what's the use? So what you're saying is you don't want open borders, but you kind of do want open borders. You want to say you don't have it, but in the end, you kind of want to feel like, yeah, it's okay.
If that is the only document ICE brings to a home raid, agents do not have the legal right to enter a home.
Do I think this is going to be effective? No, I do not. Do I think it's weird that we have our politicians out there telling people that A, there's going to be a raid, and B, don't worry about it. You don't have to listen to them. Let us give you a wink, wink, nudge, nudge of what you have to do and not have to do.
If ICE agents don't have a warrant signed by a judge, a person may refuse to open the door and let them in.
It's frustrating. We can empathize. We can find real solutions by changing the asylum laws, giving people opportunity to come here, fixing the work visas from El Salvador to Honduras to Guatemala to Mexico. There's a lot of things that we can do, that we can put into law. The problem I always have with any of this is if you're not going to enforce it, and you've got one side that says, follow this right here, follow this, and you're like, okay, they've done that. There's 1 million people that have removal orders, and you're saying, no, that's not fair. Then tell me exactly what it is. How did the rules change again? Because it's politics. That's why. Because it's politics. Future voters, kids, future voters. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. Oh, man, the census. Here comes another battle. Is it or isn't it? Will they, won't they? Is he going to sign a executive order to put it on there? I'm exhausted. Every day it's whiplash with politics.
We're printing the forms. We fully expect the census to go forward. The president's effort to put the citizenship question on the census will continue to be challenged in court.
Yep. And it's it. Was it on there? Wasn't it on there before? Well, it was, but then it wasn't. And then it was, and then Harvard came out and said, no, we did a study, and we found out it wasn't on there, and not in the way that people, there's just, I'm at this point where it's like, because the reason is nobody really wants to know the answer. Nobody really wants to know the answer. I do. But nobody really wants to know. You don't want to. You think Nancy Pelosi wants to find out? I was talking to somebody yesterday who does another show here in Phoenix, and pretty liberal, can't stand Trump. I said, is there a tipping point for you as far as numbers? He says 35 million, 40 million. That's when I say, okay, now this has gone too far. I said, so if it's like 40 million people, he's like, that's ridiculous. There is, right? At some point in time, there's a tipping point. At some point in time, you realize that, I don't fit in these jeans anymore, and I've got to go up to a size I never thought I'd be in, so I got to make a decision here. There's a tipping point, and they don't want to know. They don't want to know. Immigration battle is not going anywhere anytime soon. Both sides are going to use it. Both sides are going to enjoy using it. Both sides are going to raise money off of it. Both sides are going to demonize each other off of it. And both sides know that there's a solution out there if the fringes of both parties don't have a say in it. But for whatever reason, those fringes in both parties get to be the bullies. And this is what you've got. Very, very sad. Should piss every one of us off. It really should. I want to know who's in the country. Would you have just because you want to deport them all? Never said that. I can tell you over and over again. No. Our failure and they're taking advantage of our kindness and using our laws against us, that's a bad on us, right? Fool me once, shame on you. But we're at the point now where we'll fool me 20, 30, 40 million times. It's on us. But we need to figure it out. We're not deporting 15, 20, 30 million people, whatever it is. It's not going to happen. But we should know exactly what's going on. Your congressional districts, right, the districting, the money you get from the Fed should be based on residents and citizens, not the fact that you could stack an area. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Today is National Slurpee Day. It is 7-11. Right? 7-11. So between now and 7 o'clock tonight, you can go in and get a free small Slurpee, no questions asked. It's kind of like coming into our country. It's no questions asked. Just go on in there, get your free Slurpee, just walk on out. Small one. So, what's your favorite? So you're like me, Phil, and when it comes to certain things, vanilla ice cream is my favorite, and I'm a cherry guy. I used to like Coke, but I don't drink sodas anymore, so I don't do that. But if I was to have one, but my son, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are the same way, when I take the kids all to the movies and they all want a Slurpee, the kids are like, okay, I want every single flavor you have, whether it's 3, 5, or 10. Give it to me. And it's awful. They love it because they're into weird stuff, right? They're into weird stuff. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Grab your Slurpee Day. Free Slurpee Day. For all of the stuff that's going on, all the battles, remember, 7-Eleven's got your back. Wounded Paw. Speaking of got your back, Wounded Paw is an amazing organization I'm working with, and they really are incredible. The guy who put this organization together, wounded veteran, came back, was really struggling, and it was a service dog, a dog that came into his life that changed everything. And he realized there was a need. He also realized, 20 vets commit suicide a day, but how many thousands of dogs are being euthanized every day? So he goes into kill facilities, finds dogs that are going to be euthanized, trains them to be service dogs, and then gets them to the people who need it, our veterans, first responders, and their family. It's amazing, but they need your help. Here's what they're looking for. Any unwanted vehicle, whether it floats, whether it drives, whether it doesn't drive, they do not care. You're going to need an amazing tax-deductible gift. And if you don't have one of those, would you say, I'd like to give $20, $30, $50, $1 million, whatever it is, they take that as well. Check everything out for yourself. See it all. It is incredible. WoundedPawProject.org, WoundedPawProject.org, or you can call them. 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
The second quarter earnings season is really the next focus for this market. After that, it'll be the July 31st Fed meeting. But right now, we're gonna go headlong into earnings season, and that's probably all we'll be talking about and moving on over the next several days.
Stock. 27,000. It's moving, right? It's moving along. Good, bad, or indifferent. Well, it doesn't affect me. Do you have a 401k? Yeah, then it does affect you. But I don't invest in the market. Do you have a 401k? Yeah, then it affects you. It affects you. So that's good. Now, earnings season is going to be very interesting. See how that goes, right? But, it does affect you. I always like it when people say, it doesn't affect me, man. I don't have stocks. Most people don't have individual stocks. It means they're not going out and buying this, that, and the other. But most people, you have a 401k, you've got if you've got a pension, what do you think they do with that money? I mean, yes, you're vested. You're invested in a different way than, say, somebody who's out there who's individually not day trading, but buying stocks, in big amounts. Most people. Well, that's not true, Chad. No, most people don't individually buy stocks. Most people don't have a broker. Like, oh, I've got a broker. But you kind of do. You just don't understand how it works. I heard somebody say to me one day, I don't have stocks. All right, I have a 401k. I'm like, okay. I don't even know what to say. Just going to let you be. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Love hearing from you. You know, when I think children's books, kids, you know what I really think of? Metallica.
They're calling the book The ABCs of Metallica. The band says it'll include rhymes and illustrations and look back at the history of the band from A to Z. Maybe A will stand for And Justice for All, the band's fourth album. Darkness imprisoning me. Featuring the classic song One about a quadriplegic war vet blown up by a landmine. Maybe N will stand for Nightmare. It's just the beasts under your bed. All proceeds, Metallica says, will benefit the band's foundation supporting workforce education and the fight against hunger.
There you go. Little Metallica. Oh, my Lord. Metallica. ABC. Here comes the Sandman. You could totally do that. Well, tell me more, Daddy. It's the Sandman. It's entering. I love that. Those are the things that make me smile, right? Kind of that everybody needs to write a book. Everybody's got one in them. Maybe a children's book, maybe a pop-up book, but you got one in them. So there you go. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Trump spoke today. Census or not to census? Thine is thy question. And if we do not census, how do we find out who's here or not here? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Ilhan Omar, AOC, they're all fighting everybody, from Tucker Carlson to Nancy Pelosi to everybody in between. Oh, man. Politics is strange. Yes, indeed, kids. This here be the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I am hereby ordering every department and agency in the federal government to provide the Department of Commerce with all requested records regarding the number of citizens and non-citizens in our country.
That's Donald Trump. Somebody texted in a little while ago and said, you know, but the way that Trump has acted has kind of made it so it's tough to take him serious on immigration. The way that all government has acted, it makes it tough to take him serious on immigration. The way they all have. So now he's decided he's going to do something else and order agencies to try to collect it. He's like, fine, you don't want to do this? Then I'm going to try to do something else.
As a result of today's executive order, we will be able to ensure the 2020 census generates an accurate count of how many citizens, non-citizens, and illegal aliens are in the United States of America. Not too much to ask.
And I know it's, look, I understand what the messenger and who the messenger is and how people feel about him. And it's easy. Look, in the day and age that we live in, it's easy to essentially say something, and because of who the messenger is, you deem him that, and his message is null and void, or her message is null and void. But the reality is, for the everyday American, at some point in time, there is a breaking point. Democrat or Republican, right? The exhaustive majority, the 70% of us who aren't insane, who aren't driven by crazy political correctness, who aren't, just for all intents and purposes driven around by the fringes. We're exhausted, but we are the majority, and we need to remember that. Sometimes, dogs don't really see size. That's why little yappy dogs are always like willing. I'll take one of my little yappy dogs. He doesn't really yap, but he's itty bitty. He's just a little Chewiener dog. He's hilarious. His name's Doodle. I'll take him around my mom's house. Giant dogs everywhere. Just massive dogs. The smallest dog my mom has right now, she's got 2 little dogs, but the smallest of the big dogs is a St. Bernard. There's Great Pyrenees, all these things. Doodle will walk in there, and he dominates. The reality is we're the exhausted majority. We're those big dogs, and every once in a while we need to remind them. We're not driven by the crazy fringes, and we have a right to know who's here, and it has nothing to do with race. It has all to do with the fact that we, as a nation, should have the opportunity to decide who gets to come here and who doesn't get to come here. And for years, we've been told this big, ginormous lie. There's 8 million people here, and that's it. How many people are really here? How many? How many people are absolutely here? It's not a perfect science, but we have a right to get close enough, right? It's like you can get close enough. I talk, one of the hosts that's here, we were chatting earlier, and earlier today, he is a never Trumper. Can't stand Trump, right? At all. Can't stand him. Wants nothing to do with Trump or any, just ugh. But we were talking about this, and he said to me, because I said, well, is there a breaking point for you? He said, yeah. He said like 35 million at some point in time. If there was that, that's it. I don't, there's no way. And he's pretty liberal, not quite a progressive, not the AOC, but there is a breaking point for everybody, right? It's like money, right? At some point in time, it's like, well, yeah, I'll do it. It's the same thing. We have a right to know. That's it. We have a right to know. I would like to know. I don't want to get into an argument over, well, it's racist, it's this, that, and the other. You're going to see race in everything. You're going to fight everything. This is what it is. You're going to blame the other side because it's so much easier rather than trying to overcome their arguments to just say they're racist and they're horrible or they're stupid and they're mean and they're going to destroy America. It's a bunch of crap. You know why? Because the exhausted majority, we're not going to let them destroy America. But they'll make it tougher. That's for damn sure. It's insane. But I'd like to know. So we'll see how this plays itself out. Quite frankly, I don't know if it's going to play itself out the way that he thinks it's going to play itself out. But we shall see. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Oh, shaky, shaky, shaky.
35 people may have been injured when this turbulence, according to some of the passengers, snuck up out of nowhere. It says the plane was dark. This was 4 hours into the flight. A lot of people were sleeping when this happened. The airline saying that it was, quote, unforecasted and sudden turbulence. But take a listen to what some of the passengers are telling our affiliates there in Hawaii.
All sort of dozy, and the cabin was pretty dark. And it just seemed that the plane just sank and then flew up.
Yeah. And remember, here's the thing about flying. Control. Right? It's the control thing. As human beings, we like control. Man, and that's not control. That's 35,000 feet in the air. And when there's, and this is the other thing too, why so many people were hurt. And I have been, nothing near as this, but I've been on where 2 people were taken off, where you're flying and it is blue skies. It is not shaky. It is as smooth as can be. And out of nowhere, boop. And that's the scary part. Yeah. Scary indeed.
Felt like a whiplash. I think it just dropped, but it felt like it whipped in the air.
It was like a scene from a movie, like the worst possible scenario you can think of where you see a movie where a plane's about to crash. It was like that.
It started getting a little bit rocky, so I thought I'd better buckle up. And then about 5 seconds later, you just watch everyone's head in the plane who wasn't wearing a seatbelt just hit the roof like a jack in a box.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about there. You know what I mean? It's like it's flying in the air and all. And next thing you know, wickily diggly do. Yeah, it was like a diggery didgeridoo. 35 people injured. Speaking of airplanes, this is another one of those stories. Producer Phil, is it me or do we feel like it's about the summertime? It's almost cyclical where we have a certain part of the season where we get weird airplane stories, and it feels like it's summertime when we get those weird stories. I feel like it. Travel. Lots of travel. Case in point, a doctor. Her name is Dr. Rowe. And she's on an airplane, and she's wearing, Phil made fun of me earlier. I call it a romper. What would you call it, Phil, if it's not a romper?
I don't know, but that's a British term.
No, well, so's dungaree. You know, but she's wearing a romper. So she's wearing a romper. It's not really a dungaree because it doesn't have the straps over the shoulders. So it looks like a halter top dungaree. You know, it's what the kids are wearing, right? Like it's what the kids are wearing.
Is it like a onesie?
So she's wearing it. Yeah, a short onesie. Yeah, I guess so. You know, kind of thing, right? And I see it. I see the kids. My sisters wear them. All right. I mean, people around here wear them. So she's wearing it, and they tell her she's a doctor coming from Miami to Jamaica. And she's on her way to Houston. So she's going home. She's with her kid. And they tell her, you can't come on unless you cover up. So I looked at the picture and I thought to myself, why? Why? Wait, what? Like, because she's not gross, right? I mean, she's got some curves, right? But she's not freakish or, it's not so tight. It's not a thong or any of these things. Yeah, I think there's some questions that could be asked.
This brings some obvious questions into play like gender, size discrimination, or race. Dr. Rowe says the fact that she's African-American is one of the reasons that she was targeted. Also, it's unclear if this was a man that was wearing shorts and had bare shoulders, whether he would be targeted in the same way, or whether a more curvaceous body type or not brings more attention.
I often wonder, in today's world of wokeness and in today's world of social media, where you know what's coming. You know if you do something. You know if you say something. You know if you do something that may be offensive, even if you're following the quote-unquote letter of the law. Because what we do, you have some people that will follow it to a T. And other people that'll ignore it because of, they don't want to get in trouble for it or whatever. But then there's, the common sense side of things. And I look at this and I have a question. I'm like, what the hell is she? Why would you do this? Like, why would you do this? First of all, if a guy wore that, I'd ask them to cover it. I got to be honest with you. Little dangly bits coming out of her. I don't need to see that. But I think it's a very fair question. It is. Because I've been on airplanes where people I've worn stuff less than that. And I was on an airplane about 8 weeks ago. Girl walks by. She has obviously had some work done, if you will, on the upper half. She has got like a cut-off shirt so you can see her belly button, and she's wearing the yoga pants. And everybody's staring. And I thought, I didn't think anything of it. I'm just like, well, I mean, you want attention, you're going to get attention. But this was, here comes lawsuits. I mean, that's what you're going to get.
American Airlines website have what they call a contract of carriage, and it's their policy which requires passengers to, quote, dress appropriately, and bare feet or offensive clothing aren't allowed. And that's the sum total of the guidance provided online. So what she says is that she looked up the policy as well, and she said it certainly wasn't vulgar.
No, it wasn't vulgar. It wasn't. So they give her money back for her and her kid, and they apologize. But as we all know in this day and age, that really isn't enough. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I love this. Bernie's trying to get woke and hip with the youth of America. Besides the politics, he's trying to do all kinds of stuff. So he's got a Twitch channel now. And I love at the beginning of the Twitch channel, his first broadcast, there was like a 7-second snippet of the Soviet national anthem. But there's this new thing. And they asked him, they just kind of asked him a question about his little personality.
What's something that people get wrong about you?
They think I'm grumpy all of the time, and I'm only grumpy most of the time. There's sometimes I'm not grumpy. Now is not one of those times.
He's either got a great dry sense of humor or that's who he is. And I think it's a smidge of both. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Hey, credit card debt, massive. Do you know how I know? Because I read. One thing I don't do is credit card debt. I see too many people get in trouble. The millennials, talked about it this week. The millennials, all right, that the 25 to 34-year-olds, that group that's coming out, people are like, oh, they got so much student debt. They do have student debt, but you know what they have more of? Credit card debt. And they're paying too much, and so are you. 19% APR on average? What? No, I say. Nay. That's where Lightstream comes in. How about this? Credit card consolidation loan, 5.95% APR with auto pay, $5,000 to $100,000. And in many cases, you can get that money the same day. You got good credit. You're sitting around looking at this. You're paying off a dinner you had 2 years ago on a date that you didn't like. Stop doing it. And here's this. For my listeners, yeah, special interest rate discount. Now, the only way to get this is to go to lightstream.com/Benson. When you do, you're going to get that discount when you sign up. It's that easy. lightstream.com/Benson. So simple. Only way to get this. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offers subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
Ever!
The eye in the sky is watching the independent Atlantic League. Specifically, it's a TrackMan computer using Doppler radar that calls balls and strikes and notifies the home plate umpire through an earpiece.
If the game and the players want a more consistent strike zone from the computer, then that's what we'll give them.
That's umpire Brian DeBrouwer, who is still paying attention to balls and strikes in case the system fails. The program is one of several rules changes adopted by the Atlantic League in partnership with Major League Baseball, which could introduce some of the changes in coming seasons.
Yeah, it's interesting, because we want perfection from our referees. At the same time, with all the great technology, we don't want to take away the human aspect of it. So it's that weird kind of position of we want to feel like we're never going to miss anything. And at the same time, we don't want to take somebody out of a position because we do want to be able to have some sort of, argument. Whatever it is. And I don't know. Soccer's now introduces what they call video assistant referee, VAR, where and they could mistaken identity is one of the things they can go after, and then the rest of it is offsides and penalties and fouls inside the box. That's all it's allowed to do, and it's because there was so much diving. And at the same time, there was also a lot of times where guys were getting crushed, and the referees, you got to think about it. You're usually 35 or 40 when you get to the top of your game. Same thing in the NFL and the NBA. You're a little bit older, and you're trying to catch up to 22, 23-year-olds who are playing at the just ungodly speed. Yeah, so, but it does slow things down. This is interesting. Baseball is a very interesting thing because I don't know how that works. I see the little box they have during the baseball games, and this is the strike zone, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work because I don't know if I really want to lose the human side of it and the arguing. But then again, if you're somebody like the New Orleans Saints, what are you thinking? Yeah, I'm glad that they're going to put this in. Hell yeah. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Do love hearing from every single one of you. Trump census. We're not going to do it, but we're kind of going to do it, but it's going to be totally a different kind of doing it. Oh, but we're doing it.
The Census Bureau can use this information along with information collected through the questionnaire.
And so there's going to be some sort of new questionnaire. There's going to be some sort of new, I don't know how it's going to really be rolled out and how this is going to, again, he's empowering agencies to do stuff. And, a lot of times I think he thinks it's a really good idea and the agencies are going, what is he talking about? there'll be all kinds of challenges across the board for this, so it's not like this is going to happen tomorrow. But he'll blame the Democrats. Democrats will blame him. They'll call him a racist. He'll say they hate America, and then it'll just be Friday. That's pretty much the kind of day that we have here. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. It's going to be ugly, New Orleans. There was supposed to be a raid, supposedly this week, an ice raid, but they've canceled it in New Orleans because of the Barry tropical storm depression. I was like, oh, he's depressed? No wonder he's crying. But the levee, this is going to be, since Katrina, this is going to push the levee to its core as far as it can go and see if it survives or not. And, you know, we're in that time of the year, we're going to start seeing some storms. So this one didn't quite get to the size that maybe originally it was, but it's going to dump a lot of rain. So we'll see what happens. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. That, kids, is your Twitter and Instagram. It's National Photo Pet Day or whatever. Got all kinds of photos up of all the critters I have. God, I've got a bunch of. That's like a petting zoo. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We will defend the right of the American people to know the full facts about the population, size of citizens and non-citizens in America.
It's Donald Trump is backing away from the executive order to add the citizen question to the census, but he is trying to do something else when it comes to the census. He's saying, fine, we're not going to get the citizen question on there. Don't worry, I got another plan.
I'm hereby ordering every department and agency in the federal government to provide the Department of Commerce with all requested records regarding the number of citizens and non-citizens in our country.
And I am a person who is independent, right? Understand why people come here. I do the same damn thing. Who wouldn't? Right? I understand. At the same time, I'd also understand that, you know what? I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, and there's that chance. There's that chance that I could be caught. There's that chance that I could be found out and that I would be sent back. There's that chance. But I'm willing to take that risk. But I would like to know how many people are here, right? Well, it's a race thing. It's not a race thing. If we had 15 million Canadians that came across the border, I'd like to know how many people are here, right? Has zero to do. Well, why do you say Canadians? They could be different. Oh, shut up. You know what I mean. Swedes, right? Super, as we know, very diverse nation. Super, uber diverse. When I think diversity, I think Scandinavia is pretty diverse. But come on. You don't want to know? I will tell you this. The Democrats don't want to know. I don't know if the Republicans, some of the powers that be, really want to know. But the Democrats really don't want to know. Because I think they know if it isn't what everybody's been peddling for the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 7 million, it's 9 million, it's 12 million, it's 14 million, if it's 35 or 40 million, that changes everything. People have an issue with that. You've gotten to the point where there's an issue. We've got a problem here. We've got a problem. Now, raids are supposed to start soon as this weekend.
And you remember the raids that were expected to happen back in June in 10 major U.S. cities that were later called off in an unprecedented announcement by President Trump. Well, those raids are back on. Expected to happen on Sunday and last several days. The target of these raids will be at least 2,000 undocumented immigrants with current removal orders. But how these raids might be different is they will also include collateral arrests, meaning even if an undocumented immigrant is not the target of a raid but happens to be on the scene of one, they too may be detained by ICE officials. According to the New York Times, the Trump administration's goal in these raids is to send a strong message to those who are thinking about crossing the southern border.
Yeah. Now, think about this, right? You're ICE. You've been told in sanctuary states and cities across the country, you're not welcomed in our jails. You're not welcome in our inside of our, in many places, courthouses and things of that nature. So you can't do anything, right? You can't do anything. So I've said all along, at some point in time, there's going to be collateral damage. You won't let me get the bad guy, which the Democrats say we want out of here. I think everybody agrees, right? We want the bad people gone. So you're not going to let me do that. So I'm going to go out and, hey, I've got orders to get rid of these people for whatever reason. And it's 2,000. But if we go in and we catch other people that aren't here legally, it's collateral damage. Now listen to this.
They're absolutely going to happen. There's approximately 1 million people in this country with removal orders. Of course, that isn't what ICE will go after in this, but that's the pool of people who've been all the way through the due process chain.
That's a lot of people right there. That's 1 million people. Think about this for a second. So you tell me, and I get everybody to say, Chad, I've never seen a Democrat that says they want to open borders. There's some few wackos out there that'll say that, but they say they don't want, right? They say that they don't want open borders. But on this, when you listen, right? So when you listen to these, many of the big Democrats that get out there and talk about this, you start saying to yourself, oh, wait a minute here. You're saying, no, there's a legal process and we don't want open borders. But then I hear you.
They are doing what any people would do, any persons would do, faced with what they're faced with. They're simply seeking a decent life for themselves and for their children.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. We just talked about it. I've given you exactly what I would do over and over and over and over and over again. Neither side wants to give any. And some are so just dug in that they don't care. They don't care. They're willing to just stand there and allow this to continue to happen. And then I'm told over and over again, no, open borders isn't real. We don't want open borders. You say it, right? We want to have strong borders. We want to have, and the asylum law, we need to respect the asylum law. Okay, fine. Let's do that. 1 million people have orders to leave. 1 million people. You kind of want to protect them, is what I hear in things like this.
If ICE agents don't have a warrant signed by a judge, a person may refuse to open the door and let them in.
Okay, so let me get this right. They've gone through the system that you want them to go through. They came here. They applied for asylum. They've had their court hearing. They probably had a second court hearing. They went through the entire due process, and we said to them, you do not fit the criteria laid out in this to have asylum here. You must leave. And now you're saying, no, they shouldn't leave. So what does that sound like to me? That sounds like it's, no, I don't want open borders, but I don't care if you come here, and I'll protect you. Who wouldn't be frustrated with that? I think it's a fair question to ask. There's 1 million people that have done it, have gone through the process, or at least started to, and then stopped showing up through the process because they knew they weren't going to get it. And now we've got this order of removal. And some of them may be criminals, and some of them may be just hardworking people that tried to do it in hopes and prayers that they were going to get here. A good portion of them probably. Now, if you want to change the asylum laws, do it. If you want to be smart about it and start handing out visas to come here and work legally in a way that they don't have to worry about being picked up, that they don't become a political football. And that's what I would do if I was a Republican. I'd get my head out of my ass and say, we need to figure out how to make them not citizens, right? Because that's what the Democrats are open for. Complete change of demographics where you have dominance for the rest of forever, because you will tilt it to the point where you will never have a chance to have a Republican or anybody else that's semi-conservative or libertarian in the White House. So what you do is you say, let's figure out a way, not for a path of citizenship, residencies and work visas. You give them the things that they really want, and at the same time, you stop it from going further. Better think ahead. Better think ahead. Otherwise, you're going to be behind fast. 323-538-2423. At Chad the Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love when you do that. Mueller, by the way, is it? It's next Wednesday, if I'm correct. Is that the 17th? Ooh, how exciting is that not going to be?
I wish we had more time, but I'm glad we had the time that we have.
Oh, doesn't that sound like Nancy? Did you love him?
I wish we had more time, but I'm glad we had the time that we have.
Oh. Do you miss him?
I wish we had more time, but I'm glad we had the time that we have.
Oh, I miss him too. He's great. I hope he gets up there and just says, it's in my report. 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 I don't know if he will or not, but that would be hilarious. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Check it out. It's National Pet Photo Day. I was thinking, like, what's my next pet? Because I got a lot of lizards, and I have a lot of lizards that you know, like, people are like, do you want to breed a bunch of your lizards? Because a lot of people do that, and I don't, because I don't want it to become like more work. They're my kind of zen, but I'm always like, what's the next weird thing that I want? Right? I don't know. I keep saying I want a goat. I don't know.
An alpaca.
An alpaca would be fun. I could do an alpaca. I can do an alpaca. A mini horse? That would be interesting. Right? That'd be cool. Oh, but an alpaca. Ostriches, right? Emus? That's interesting. No, I know what my next few lizards are going to be, but yeah, I'm always looking for some. I love animals, right? Like I do. I love them, and I just, it's crazy. It's crazy. I do. But an alpaca, look at that, Phil. I like that. You can probably get that cheap too. Camel.
I've seen commercials.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let's do it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Check out the Instagram as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
I'm proud to be a citizen. You're proud to be a citizen. The only people who are not proud to be citizens are the ones who are fighting us all the way about the word citizen.
Trump, take a swipe. Somebody texted in and says, you're starting to sound like a wacko conservative. No, and that's the thing, is I'm not a whack job cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm me. I don't want a label. I do me. I don't like either of these parties. I don't like the way they act. Here's the thing about those parties. They've moved so far away from me, like they have the rest of us exhausted majority. They've got a monopoly on politics that we need to figure out how we get to a third party in a way that it doesn't have to be massive, but if it's just big enough, it'll be more than relevant. But I want to know. It has zero to do with race or any. Everybody's going to. It's easy to say, oh, you're a racist. Right? That's the easiest thing. Okay, that's it. So supposedly that's how it starts. Well, Trump's a horrible human being. Maybe so. Right? But the reality is I would like to know. A lot of people would like to know. And not just all crazy rednecks just sitting around going, man, I'm just getting ready to go burn a cross tonight. No. The powers that be probably aren't thrilled to find out. Because even if it's 35 million, I'm not blaming just the Democrats. Republicans, you allowed this to happen. You cozied up with the Chamber of Commerce and enjoyed every second of the fact that you had cheap labor and kept what? Yes, kept all these wages down, made it tougher in certain parts of the country in particular to see wages go up and for small businesses and competition. Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. Let's find out. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Because of the messenger, people hate the message. But it doesn't mean, even if you think he's all of these horrible things, still doesn't mean he's wrong. And yeah, I would like to know, and I think a lot of people would. Will it happen? I don't think we'll ever get a real answer. I don't think we will. And that's sad, because I think we as Americans deserve a real answer. But the reality is, in this day and age, with the way that these two fight, I just don't think we're going to get any kind of real answer that is going to make anybody happy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. How do you have a summit for social media without social media?
The president spent most of an hour complaining how social media discriminates against conservatives, and specifically him.
I have millions of people, so many people I wouldn't believe it. But I know that we've been blocked. People come up to me and they say, sir, I can't get you. I can't follow you.
Mr. Trump offering no evidence that's happened, and in fact, his Twitter profile shows more than 62 million followers.
Yeah, but again, it happens. Case in point, we're going to have Andy Ngo on a little bit. He is a journalist who 2 weeks ago was attacked and beaten up by Antifa. I retweeted something last night. Twice. Disappeared. Never saw it again. Well, that's just a one-off. It's not. It's not. It happens. It happens. Let's not pretend that it doesn't happen. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Do I think it happens as much as some people think? No. But I also know that there are people running it, and the powers that be who program these things are going to put in their own thought process and their own biases, and that is going to affect the way things are done. Case in point, we're going to ask him about Mr. Mazza, who went after Crowder, Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder gets he gets demonetized and taken off, and all of this stuff happens on YouTube. And Crowder laughed about the whole thing because he went after Mazza, and yet Mazza, who attacks everybody else, is advocating for people to be milkshaked, and we'll talk about that. But that's essentially where you go up with a milkshake or something like a milkshake, and you smash it into somebody's face who you don't like, and it used 99.9% of the time it happens to conservative politicians. And it's been very popular around the world. Nothing happens to that guy. So, yeah, I think it's fair to ask a question. But when you don't have Twitter there, and you don't have Facebook there, and you don't have all the powers that be, then really what it is a bitch fest. That's it. And even if you brought proof, it's not like they're going to change anything. People have brought proof before. But at least, you know what? Have both of the biggies there. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whoever. I mean, they're all the same anymore. And bitch at them. And hear them out. Andy Ngo joins us straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We love to have smart people on our show, brave people on our show, people that are not afraid to confront all sides of the aisle. This guy's doing it. He is. And for that, he paid the price. You can check out the pictures. He's become a national story, international story. Andy Ngo joins us. He's a Portland-based journalist, works for the senior editor over there at Quillette, and you've been published just about everywhere. But everybody's talking about you and what took place a few weeks ago in Portland. Describe, Andy, the what took place on that day and your confrontation with a little group called Antifa.
So I work as a journalist in Portland, and I cover demonstrations quite frequently. There's a large number of radical left-wing activists in Portland, and a small number of them are militants. So on the 29th of June, I came there to cover what was supposed to be a demonstration against some right-wing groups, and I was attacked by a mob in the heart of downtown, steps away from the Central Police Precinct and the Sheriff's Office. No police helped me. I was hit repeatedly in the face and head by people wearing tactical gloves, so they're using their hands as weapons. I ended up having to go to the ER and had a CT scan and was diagnosed with a brain hemorrhage or a brain bleed.
You know, Antifa is this organization that, for whatever reasons, you know, I heard you the other day with Shapiro. I mean, not Shapiro, but with Rogan talking about the fact that, you know, they believe they have this moral high ground to be able to defend something, and that's the scary thing is this that their hatred somehow is better than quote unquote the other side's hatred, and so that gives them the right to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, so Antifa, for your listeners who may not be aware, is a movement of extreme anarchists and communists, and some of them are militants. They have a coherent ideology, and violence is a modus operandi. So you brought up the morality thing, and what makes them very dangerous, and what makes any movement dangerous, is actually those who think that their cause is just, and anything justifies the ends justify any means. So they have no issue going so far as attacking citizens with not just their hands, but carrying weapons like crowbars, bricks, biohazard, like human waste to use to throw in people's faces, and it's going to lead to a death. And in Portland in particular is a harbinger. It's a warning to other cities around this country that what happened to me was not really an outlier. I was not the only one attacked that day. There were other people who suffered severe head lacerations, and before that, you may have seen the viral clip from October last year, the elderly driver getting attacked in the streets in downtown. Antifa frequently shuts down parts of downtown and just taking over the streets, really with impunity. Police just let them do it. And so, I mean, one of the biggest updates in my story, in addition to that, there have been, unfortunately, no arrests 12 days after this mob beating. My lawyer has, I'm the first client for the nonprofit that she heads called Publius Lex. That's spelled Publiuslex. And if you go to that website, there's a way for people to donate to the legal fund, because something is rotten important, not just, it's not an issue really of rank and file officers. It's an issue with actual policing and as well as the upper echelons of governance. And so there's going to be a lengthy and costly legal battle if the evidence supports that there needs to be lawsuits against the city or the mayor or the police chief or whoever's responsible for dereliction of duty that's allowing law-abiding citizens to be attacked over and over in the streets where police do nothing.
Yeah, they do nothing. And we're talking to Andy No, who was attacked by Antifa. He's a Portland-based journalist who does a really good job. And you've been investigating and looking into the fake hate crimes and a bunch of the stuff that goes on there. But you talk about the policing and the mayor and all of this thing that's going on there. I look at Antifa and I look at this and I said the other day, I said, you know what it reminds me of? And soccer is a game I love. I said, it reminds me of a referee that doesn't get control of a game, and eventually it's going to get out of control to the point where you said it. Somebody is going to die because eventually they're going to pick on somebody who's an innocent bystander only to find out that that guy or gal is playing for real. And it's going to get ugly. And I don't think they understand what's coming if they don't get a handle. They're letting people run around wearing masks. My God, how insane is that?
Yes. So what's very frustrating is that 11 days after my attack, the mayor finally did a press conference where he addressed the protest that happened on the 29th of June. And he came with no proposals, for one. The police chief had suggested that the city, the state needs to ban the wearing of masks while committing crimes. Now, that should be like a baseline no-brainer, right? And he couldn't even bring himself to support that. So we have feckless governance. We have, those on a city council who I would say are even sympathetic to Antifa. And that's the issue. It's like there's a number of variables here that's creating the storm for literally anarchy and chaos on the streets of Portland at times. And that's caused, one, by politicians who have a constituency in the city who support Antifa, 2, bad leadership, and 3, a mayor who also doubles as the police commissioner.
Yeah. There's no conflict of interest there, which is insane. Talking to Andy No, journalist based in Portland, senior editor over there at Quillette. And you know what? I watched what happened to you, and one of the other things, Carlos Maza, and of course that big thing with Vox and the battle between him and Steven Crowder and all of these things that happened. He's been out there. It's so funny because he goes after people he doesn't like, and then everybody kowtows to certain things, especially in social media, because you need to be woke. You need to be on the right side of something because, again, their hate can be morally superior to other people's hate, apparently. But he's advocating things like, the milkshaking, which took place in Australia and throughout Europe and stuff, where you go up and you see a conservative or somebody you don't like, you throw a milkshake on them. And they were doing it to you as you're trying to escape there. And again, another thing, if you throw food or a milkshake in my face, as far as I'm concerned, you've made your first move, and then somebody else is going to make a move.
Yeah, so that's the insidiousness of milkshaking. And what's disappointing is that a lot of journalists and those who work in media think of the milkshaking as kind of like this cute, nonviolent way for political dissent. But no, 1, it marks you out so other people know who to target, as happened to me. 2, when it hits you in the face, not only is there the blunt force trauma from the cup, because this is a thick liquid, it blinds you as well. It's an opaque liquid. So after I was dazed and hit a whole bunch, and they kept throwing stuff, these quote-unquote milkshakes in my face, I couldn't even see really where to go. I was just walking and hoping that I was getting away from the mob. It was horrific, and we need to pay attention not just to the militant Antifa, but I call the larger group of them the nonviolent Antifa. And these are the people who work in media and journalism who work to mainstream Antifa's tactics. So punching a Nazi was seen as acceptable, and Antifa calls a large segments of population Nazis, so it gives them the justification to physically attack them. And then now, milkshaking is seen as somehow acceptable. And, it's just, there's a whole narrative propaganda that Antifa has with sympathetic writers and journalists who are giving them cover in the mainstream press. And I'm hoping that with me forcing myself to continue to do these interviews as I'm still working on recovering from the brain hemorrhage, I want the public to be forced to see the brutality of this movement and that things have to change.
You know, when it comes to somebody like Antifa, like I look at this and I see them, and again, they're, you know, I just don't even think they believe it's real. It's just a bunch of white privileged kids running around for the most part, throwing a fit and doing the things that they do for whatever reason. My question has always been, if they got what they wanted, I mean, what is the ends? What's their end game look like? Do you have any idea what they would like to have happen? Because as much as the craziness and the violence scares me, what's behind them pushing the movement to do these kind of things must have a political thing they would like to see happen.
Absolutely. They're not like street hooligans who just go out and break stuff. It's the violence, the street violence is working towards their goal. They're agitating for a political revolution, and they're anarcho-communists. The violence is meant to not only polarize society and make, populations and citizens hate and distrust each other, but it's also meant to delegitimize institutions of liberal democracy, so like the legal system, police, and all that. So that's why they work so hard to not just physically attack police, but also attack the institution of policing itself. It's working towards creating a state of anarchy and the breakdown of what makes liberal democracy in this country and the breakdown of borders, so on and so forth.
That's crazy. It's crazy. Talking to Portland-based journalist Andy Ngo, who was attacked by Antifa. You're a great writer. Take away all that other stuff. How are you doing physically? And you're taking some time off now, but you're ready to get back out there. Did they destroy your new GoPro? Because I know you had a new GoPro. Did they break that?
I don't know if they broke it. What they did is they robbed it from me during the beating, and I was trying so hard to hold on to it because that was my precious evidence. I was just thinking, okay, if I make it through this beating, okay, at least this is caught on camera, and they stole it from me. So who knows where it is now. That's very frustrating to me when I think about it. As for my health, a lot of the bruising and swelling has gone down on my face. But I'm going to continue to have ongoing treatment. I have neurophysical therapy coming up, speech therapy. I'm going to have memory issues for up to 6 months. And you said that, that I'm ready to jump back into it. Actually, I'm not sure if I am. What's been really unfortunate after this beating is that the threats have been ongoing and have continued, and my address has been released online. I had to get away from Portland this entire week. It was just, I felt unsafe, and I was continuing to get threats from people promising to make sure that when they see me on the streets in Portland, that next time I won't be able to walk away. So they're literally trying to terrorize me. The DHS since 2016 has described some of Antifa's activities as domestic terrorist violence. So it should really, what happened to me should not be a partisan issue. And unfortunately, some in the media have made it that this is an issue about an attack not just on the freedom of the press, but attack on the free speech and attack on law-abiding citizens.
Yes, absolutely, man. Well, we wish you the best of luck and look forward to talking to you again. Thanks so much for taking time with us today, and get yourself healed up there, and you're doing an important job. Get back out there.
Thank you. And if your listeners want to get involved, please go to PubliusLex.com, PubliusLex.com.
Will do. We'll put that on the Facebook and the website. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Again, I don't know what the end game is, what they would like to see, but Portland is a disaster, from homelessness to rise of drug use to this insanity up there. Eventually, it's going to break, and it's going to get ugly. And here's the other thing. Somebody's not going to be playing one day. Somebody's going to be a real, genuine badass walking down the street and going to get caught up in something, and Antifa's going to take what they think is going to be a pot shot at somebody and find out that person's going to answer in kindness, and then it might escalate from there, and then either that person's going to get killed or that person's going to pull out a gun and pop a cap, and everybody's going to freak out. And they've doxed him, which means they're putting out all of his information, where his numbers, the whole 9 yards. People go to his house, do all the. It's insane. Somebody shows up at my house, threatens me and my family, oh, it's on. You can't whine about it at that point in time. It's nuts. Portland, get your head out your ass. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
Keep in mind that it is in the van. Outside, it will be much higher.
That right there is a tour guide. Now you're saying, Chad, why is a Russian giving a tour guide at Disneyland? No. He is a tour guide of one of the most infamous places on Earth. That place would be Chernobyl.
We knew about the disaster and we've always wanted to come and see it. Seen some documentaries on television. We thought we need to come and see this.
Yeah. Would you go? I would. I would go. The radiation's not going to kill you. I was talking earlier to producer Anthony because we've chatted about this. I watched the miniseries, which took some liberties and stuff, and it was interesting, but it was a lot of it was right to the point. And wildlife has come back immensely in and around the area. It shows you what the Earth can do and how it can bounce back. And so, yeah, I would love to go there. The thought of seeing a place that was one day as vibrant as a place could get, right, in the Ukraine, Chernobyl, and the surrounding, and Chernobyl was what the thing called, there was a surrounding town, but we identified as Chernobyl. It's about 350,000 people. They weren't told originally what was going on, and then they were like, oh, hey, you guys all need to leave, and people go there because it is frozen in time, right? People were having breakfast and this, that, and the other, and there's their plates sitting right there. People just got up. You were told, get on out.
From what I've heard, the radiation doses are pretty low on the tour, and it shouldn't endanger my life. So I was, willing to take the risk.
Yeah, a lot of people say it would be like getting maybe a X-ray or something. You're not spending months there. You're going, you're spending a few hours, you're looking around and seeing something that the Ukraine wants to do something different with. They want to, because it's been a black eye on their country for years and years, and they want to try to do something neat. So, hey, let's open it up to tourism. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Of course, the census battle's going on. Won't there be raids? People are texting in, and several people who have been somewhat arguing with me or going back and forth with me on Twitter and a few other places are like, okay, I see your point, and yeah, you're right, it's the messenger. I've had 3 people say, you're right, it is the messenger. Again, we have a right to know. And people are like, well, it doesn't say we have the right to know citizens. No, residents. Are they here legally? Imagine what you could do, how you could stack a city. Because you're going to get federal money, and you can draw up congressional lines, maybe even add new Congress members. It's tough. Shouldn't be about race, but we should have a right to know. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
President Trump today will speak at an event the White House is calling a social media summit. He's welcoming Republican members of Congress, conservative social media personalities, and conservative policymakers. But notably, major social media platforms like Twitter, Google, and Facebook will not be there. The president has complained about bias against conservatives online and even in his own social media accounts. He told Fox News recently that Facebook and Twitter were all against him and that many people were encouraging him to take action.
You should have had him there. You should have absolutely had him there. Not that it would do anything and that they would give you the usual stat answers. I mean, let's be real. How many times have we heard that, our privacy is their most important concern, and what happens, that doesn't matter. And this I find interesting because the reality is we had Andy Ngo on earlier, and if you don't know who he is a journalist who was beaten up by Antifa a couple weeks ago, and we had him on earlier. Last night I retweeted something, and it disappeared off of my Twitter feed. Did it again, and it's gone. And I think, so you're telling me that that's just an accident? Like, that's just, come on. It's ridiculous. It is. But social media, you should have everybody there to talk about social media, because social media is a part of our lives. It's not going anywhere. We're not going to go back to the way it was before social media. Twitter could leave tomorrow and something would fill its place. Facebook could disappear tomorrow and something would fill its place. It's going to happen. This is it. It's a platform for people. Some people good. Most people just use it for fun and nothing else. And some people are insane. And some people feel they've got a God-given right to say anything they want to say. And they're just bad people. But it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Plus, social media allows candidates, politicians, stars, all of these, everybody who is any kind of high profile, to feel like they're closer to the people, but they also get blowback. I mean, Trump got sued and he lost being able to block people. Right now, AOC is being sued by Democrats and Republicans for blocking people on her Twitter. Right? Like, it sucks, I mean, it just, because there's trolls out. There's horrible, and people, again, feel they have the right to say anything. Case in point, it's a perfect case in point. Aziz Ansari, you guys know who he is. He's a comedian. He's got a new Netflix special out. And he was brought into the Me Too, tidal wave of let's get everybody, because he went on a date with somebody who sought him out. They fooled around a little bit. All of it was consensual. She didn't I don't think she was sold on him. And so she wrote an article about him, essentially saying that why it was consensual, all these things happen, I still think you're a bad person, kind of predator. And that was a snapshot of it. It was awful. So he does his Netflix special. And remember this is, this is a perfect example of how that we view the world anymore, by being able to use our Twitter's verse to come out and to destroy people. And we're okay with that, right? For whatever reason, people feel they have the moral reason to want to. We used to want, if somebody got too big for their britches, we would take them down a notch or two, and we'd like to see them rise again. And did you learn a lesson? Right now, it's not that way. Case in point. So he comes out, does his Netflix special, and in his Netflix special, doing what comedians do, he just totally addresses the elephant right in the room. Let's just get this off. So people come out, and I'm always telling everybody, read an article, but the article means virtually nothing anymore because the facts could be skewed, this, that, and the other. What you really need to do is to find out how people feel or what's going on is just read the comments. That's all you have to do is just read the comments. So you've got some supporters, right? Somebody says, I'm still actually confused on why people are mad at Aziz Ansari. He did nothing without consent and shouldn't be included in the Me Too movement at all. But then you get the detractors, right? Because again, we love to bitch. Nothing is easier than bitching. Here's what one person says, and this is all that you need to know. Wait, when did we decide, who are we, Aziz Ansari was forgiven and allowed to carry on? Did I miss that? Is there some sort of tribunal that people need to go through, that you get to decide when something is okay or isn't for everybody? Am I part of this we? Here's another person, and this sums it up perfectly. It isn't that I want Aziz Ansari to be locked in a basement for the rest of eternity. I simply reject the premise that we have to waste our time and space on a male redemption narratives when the women they hurt barely get the time of day. Well, whose fault's that? Right? You spend the entire focus trying to take somebody down, never talking about anybody or the victims or anything. I mean, all you have to do is look at the Epstein situation that's going on right now. Since this news has broke nationally, again, a big story in Miami and West Palm Beach and around there, but since it's been blown up again nationally, what have they done for the subsequent 72-plus hours? How can we make this Trump's fault, Acosta's fault, and let's bring Bill Clinton into this too? Once again, never talking about the scumbag that was. Or focusing on the victims. And the only reason anybody will talk to the victims is because they want to help their narratives. That's it. They may want their story out there because they hope their story is going to help people. The media cares because, can I play the angle in the right way? Right? I want to give a voice. Who doesn't want to? But why are they doing it? It's crazy. And I just sit here and I listen. When did we decide that he was forgiven? Who are we? Who are we? Person who's obviously a male feminist. When are we? Good God, the insanity of it all. But when you give people voice, which is good, but you give them very little repercussions, know that they're going to say things that they think, but would never say it to your face. Very few people would say that to his face. I can guarantee that person's not going to. Unless there's a way to make something go viral. Because that's what happens. Because then you have to answer. People like to be able to throw a punch and not have somebody punch them back. Whether it's social media or in life. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Oh, man. Did you guys hear?
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it.
Oh, yeah. They're back. The raids are on, kids. The raids are coming big time. They're coming, apparently, this Sunday. Ugh. The battle began. I can't believe Vanilla Ice wanted to tell everybody that that had nothing to do with Under Pressure. Come on now. But yeah, the raids are back. And so everybody's positioning themselves in the way that they need to position themselves, right and left, to dig in about this situation, right? Whether you're for the raids or against the raids, well, how can they be for the raids, Chad? It's totally wrong what they're doing. These people have done absolutely nothing wrong.
And you remember the raids that were expected to happen back in June in 10 major U.S. cities that were later called off in an unprecedented announcement by President Trump. Well, those raids are back on. Expected to happen on Sunday and last several days. The target of these raids will be at least 2,000 undocumented immigrants with current removal orders. But how these raids might be different is they will also include collateral arrests, meaning even if an undocumented immigrant is not the target of a raid but happens to be on the scene of one, they too may be detained by ICE officials. According to the New York Times, the Trump administration's goal in these raids is to send a strong message to those who are thinking about crossing the southern border.
Yeah, apparently. But hold on a second. These people have removal orders. So they've done everything that they've come here, they've applied for asylum, or they've done something wrong, right? But they've gone through the legal process for whatever thing it is. They've gone through a legal process. The thing that the Democrats say that you have to do. They've come here. They've applied for asylum. They've done everything. Then they've been either denied for asylum or somewhere along the line they have broken a law to the point where they now have removal orders. And that's a bad thing. I'm confused. Now, this is 2,000. I wonder how many are actually out there.
They're absolutely going to happen. There's approximately 1 million people in this country with removal orders. Of course, that isn't what ICE will go after in this, but that's the pool of people who've been all the way through the due process chain.
So let me ask you a question. Make it brief. you're not for open borders. I hear that. Democrats, nobody's for open borders. All right, so nobody's for open borders. It's all a bunch of lies. There are some people out there that are for open borders. Maybe not the way people think for open borders, but they're fine with people coming here with zero repercussions. So then you say, well, we want people to. We've got this law, the asylum law. They've come here. They've applied for it. Okay, so you're not for open borders, but you want us to follow the rule of law. You follow the rule of the law, and at the end of the day, the rule of law, in apparently a million cases, has said you do not meet all of the things you need to meet to qualify for asylum in this country. Therefore, you must leave. And their answer to that is hide. No, don't. So you're not for open borders. You're for a pretend law that won't be enforced. Okay, I'm curious. I'm just curious. And remember, when you kick ICE out of jails and you tell them they're not welcome there, eventually, what did I say? There will be collateral damage because they will go out eventually and start getting people. And those people will be caught up. So the people you're protecting are the bad people or the people who have done everything they were supposed to, but legally, according to the laws that you want us to follow, everybody to follow. They've done everything. You then want them to ignore those laws. Huh. Anybody want to ignore some laws? Anybody? Anybody? You raise your hand? It's ridiculous. Nancy, what do you think?
If ICE agents don't have a warrant signed by a judge, a person may refuse to open the door and let them in.
There you go. Such ridiculousness. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from all of you. It's National 7-Eleven Day. So 7-Eleven, you can go get your free Slurpee between now and 7 p.m. And on top of that, it's also National Pet Picture Photo Day. So I've put a bunch of photos up across the interwebs. Take a look at it. At Chad Benson Show on the Twitter and the Instagram. Hey, burglars, they're not smart, but they will take the path of least resistance, and that is knowing you're not home and getting into your house. So where Blink came in and says, you know what? They're not smart, so we can outsmart them with technology. The Blink XT2 cameras are amazing. Got a new way talk feature, so with your Blink smartphone app, you can tell when somebody's at your front door or somewhere, wherever you place all these cameras, right? So inexpensive, less than $100. And they'll send you immediately a little snippet, and then you can talk back and forth. So they'll think you're home. You fool them. It's, again, path of least resistance. It is incredible what Blink has done. They've made the entire process of home security so inexpensive, so easy. I set them up. So that's all you need to know. I am not handy. Wire-free, sets up in minutes, couple AA batteries, going to last you a couple of years. It is incredible. You can monitor what's going on inside your house, outside of your house. It is awesome. And again, totally affordable, less than $100. Get your Blink home security system right now. Go to blinkprotect.com/Benson, blinkprotect.com/Benson, blinkprotect.com/Benson. Blink cameras are available on Amazon and Best Buy. Blink's an Amazon company, and it works with Alexa. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
This brings some obvious questions into play, like gender, size discrimination, or race. Dr. Rose says the fact that she's African American is one of the reasons that she was targeted. Also, it's unclear if this was a man that was wearing shorts and had bare shoulders, whether he would be targeted in the same way, or whether a more curvaceous body type or not brings more attention.
Now, if you haven't heard the story, a doctor, Dr. Tisha Rowe, getting on a flight from Miami, bound for Miami from Kingston, Jamaica, right? And then she was going to head on to Houston. She's wearing like a little romper, right? So she's got a romper on. She's with her kid. She's 8. And they tell her, now you got to cover up or you're not going to be allowed back on the flight. Now, and she posted pictures of herself. And what the hell is American Airlines thinking? To be honest. What are you thinking here? It's a romper. It's like what the kids are wearing. Right? Now, she's not a kid. She's a little curvy. I mean, she's not like, she's not, I have to buy 2 seats curvy. Right? She got some curves. Right? I wonder what the hell goes through people's minds in a situation like this. I think it's fair to ask, like, okay, would you let, somebody else wear something like this? Is it her? Is it a race thing? Is it you think maybe she shouldn't be wearing that? I mean, I'm like a lot of stuff. I often wonder, do people not understand like social media and the world that we live in? Not that you should run your life based on social media, but in particular, we're dealing with certain clients and in certain business things. People just seem to be oblivious. Like, oh, this isn't going to cause controversy. Don't worry, they offered her a full refund. It's like, it's too late. It's too late. And look, if she got on in a bikini, I'd be like, all right, I got no problem if you want to ask her to cover up. I got zero problems with that, right? She's in a romper that you buy at a store. And she's not wearing a thong or anything like that. Again, what goes through people's minds boggles the mind. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Should we have a third, fourth, maybe fifth party? Tucker and Ilhan Omar battle it out. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What do you deserve, Wolf? You deserve all of it. Everything.
Look, she's a victor. She's a champion. You deserve your victory, but not our adulation. First responders don't get parades. Firefighters who rescued nieces from burning buildings, they don't get parades. The mother with a sick child walking the floor, they don't get parades. A parade is an honor, and it should be accepted and embraced with grace and humility. And Rapinoe there showed none of that.
No, she did. I'm not a fan. Fan of the team, fan of the victory. As far as, great, we got that, but they're times unlikable. And they won an ESPY last night as like the greatest team. And it's look, disruptors will get under your skin. That's fine. That's what they do. Right. That's what they do. They piss people off. They piss the establishment off. They change things. Is she a disruptor? I don't know. But I will say, this battle of equality and pay, and there's always a fight somewhere for equality and pay. Doesn't matter what it is. Somebody's always champion, quote unquote, the little guy. By the way, the people who champion the little guy, if you will, or the little person, well, I don't want to say that because then it gets lumped in. I mean, here's the political correctness. You can't say little person because that just says, we're talking about midgets. And you can't say the little guy because then why is not little? How about little guy and gal? So those people never want you to stop being the little guy, gal, or person. They don't. And yeah, this is this entitlement, and I think that's rightly say. There's an entitlement here in the way that some of them have acted. As if, this game was created singularly for us. We have broken boundaries. You've won 2 in a row and 4 out of 6. Of the World Cups. I mean, we dominate in this sport when it comes to women. And you've made it an us versus them thing, and it's not good. It doesn't good. But see, that in itself is the perfect example of what is going on in our media and in our world. It's the us versus them. If you don't have conflict, what do you have? If you're walking down the street and a bunch of people are just walking by and nothing's happening, you'll be on your phone, not notice anything. That's just it, right? If there's a fight, an argument, You'll slow your car down or you'll stop and watch and film it. Conflict gets eyes, right? Beauty gets eyes, talents gets eyes, but conflict gets its due, if you will, when it comes to all of us paying attention. Rubbernecking. I don't, again, this certain entitlement, I felt like there was a certain entitlement, You thrashed a team from Thailand who has got nothing compared to you. Nothing. These girls are what are they doing today? Right? They got nothing. They're not playing pro soccer. They're not raking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars endorsement. And damn, Skippy, good for you. Take it all in. But it's turning into be a bigger thing, right? Like we're going to get we're going to force Congress to act on Bill de Blasio because he likes to tell everybody again he's running for president all the time.
The fact that our women are paid so much less than the men, they're champions. They bring in a huge amount of revenue for U.S. soccer. So let me say, it's time to change that. I'll tell you what I would do, and I'm running for president. If I were president of the United States, I would insist that Congress pass an amendment to the Amateur Sports Act requiring equal pay for men and women in all of our national sports teams.
Yeah. There you go. Requiring. And Manchin put out something yesterday that basically says if there's not equal pay, then we're not going to put any money into any public funds will go into the World Cup that's coming up in 7 years here, which is stupid. The men's World Cup. So you're going to give away first. I want to remind everybody this, and this is stuff that's hard to remind people about because people don't quite get it, right? But I want to remind everybody this. The money structure is different, right? And the way they get paid is different, but they negotiated their deal, right? So they negotiated their deal. And look, go. Great work that you're out there busting your ass and you're winning. And now you have a chance to strike while the iron's hot. And you've got social media and you've got the woke world behind you and everybody's going to cheer you on in the whole 9 yards. And good that you're striking while the iron's hot. But while you were complaining this entire time, let's not forget you negotiated your own deal. You did. You negotiated your own deal. I didn't do it. The men didn't do it. Phil didn't do it. You guys listening didn't do it. They did it. You're unhappy with it. You have a chance to strike while the iron's hot. Go ahead and do it. But you're pissed off because, oh man, I should have asked for more. And now you're trying to do that. And you've got people on your side and the momentum's there. But to talk as if you're some sort of, even last week, Alex Morgan, she said, she did a little tea sipping when they won the semifinals when she scored the goal. And everybody, some people were critical of her. Who was critical of her? The English team? Well, you guys should have stopped her from scoring. But people came out and said, she comes out and she's like, well, I'm a victim here because this wouldn't happen. Men get fined for it all the time. Men get in trouble for it all the time. And the difference in a man's game and a woman's game is, you know what? You go and do something like that. A guy should have, you say you should have stopped me. You score 13 on of us. You continue to allow them to do that and you don't take any umbrage over it and you don't maybe lay some pipe, if you will, and crush one of them here and there. That's on you. But stop acting like you're a victim. You're not a victim. Again, she's probably going to make $2-3 million this year. Raise your hand if you'd like to be victimized like that. Anyone? And it's just, and again, people want to fight for quote unquote the little guy or the person that they feel is being wronged. But do they really want that person to climb out of their place? Right? Do they? No, because you don't want to lose, quote unquote, a customer. Case in point this, Amazon Prime Day, they're talking strikes, this, that, and the other. John Oliver made fun of this weird video that they've got out. It's actually a bizarre video that Amazon's got out.
Have you ever wondered how Amazon gets your packages to you so quickly? We do it with two things, amazing technology and amazing people. Tell us about yourself, Sean.
I receive products and I'm a horrible dancer.
Can we see some moves? The Slam machine weighs, scans your box, and attaches a label all in like 1 second. Oh, and that's Ryan. He loves photography.
I do love photography.
And finally, Jackie gives every single box a long and loving hug before loading it onto a truck.
No, I don't.
Oh, maybe just this one?
Okay.
Aw, you love it.
Ugh. And they're trying to dispel it's the worst place in the world to work and you can never go to the bathroom and blah, 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 blah. And people are just fainting and dying and they don't get paid a living wage. Here's something. You don't have to work there. You don't. Right? You don't. Walmart's evil. Then don't work there. But what? You don't have to. Right? Here's the thing. If Megan Rapinoe wanted to be a person who took a stand, she shouldn't have played. The best player in the world, as of right now, decided she wasn't going to play in this World Cup, and she didn't. The Norwegian superstar said, "No, I'm not going to play. Not until women are treated in a better way." And she's her stand is very odd. She's got more of a fight with the that really is further off base than even her. But she took at least a stand that says, "I'm not playing. Biggest tournament in the world, I'm not showing up." You don't want to work for, you hate the wages you get and how you think Amazon treats you. And look, I don't know. I don't work there. I worked for UPS when I was younger. Wasn't the easiest job in the world. But guess what? Nobody said, "Hey, Chad, yeah, I'm here. I'm making you go do this." Nobody said that. This isn't the gulag. Then don't work there. It's that simple. It's just that simple. You don't like something and you try to change it. It's fine. But understand that people are going to use you in that way. And also understand there's a lot of people out there who are just like me. They go, "Well, that's got to suck working those." But you know what? You don't have to work there. You don't. Like, nobody's forcing you to work there. Well, Chad, they've got no other jobs anywhere else. Enough. You don't have to work there. Producer Phil, has anybody ever forced you to work someplace? Has anybody ever put a gun to your head and said, "You must work here"?
Never.
There you go. There you go. There you go. By the way, if you think you have a bad job, right? People think you have a bad job. Think about this guy's job, right? He's a tour guide in one of the most infamous places on the planet.
Keep in mind that it is in the van. Outside, it will be much higher.
Yeah. He's a tour guide at Chernobyl because it has become one of the hot spots for tourism. People want to go there, check it out. They want to see what all the hubbub's about. Because it is interesting. Think about this. It happened in 86. The reactor, failure of technology, failure of human beings, also success of human beings for it not getting worse, sacrifice, 35 people died. They evacuated a town of 350,000. People literally just left. Imagine getting up right now out of your house, wherever you are, and leaving and never coming back and just an empty place, right? Just an empty town. Like, imagine if the size of like just St. Paul or Cedar Rapids or, somewhere like that were just like gone. And people are curious.
We knew about the disaster and we've always wanted to come and see it. Seen some documentaries on television. We thought we need to come and see this.
Yeah. And it's eerie, man. You walk around, it's just this town. You go into like the inside of some of the houses and there's like, everything's just left the way it was, just dust and stuff everywhere. And the Ukraine wants to open it up as well. They're putting in new hiking trails, and it also shows you what nature can do. Because remember what it was? He's like, well, nobody can return here for 50 quadrillion bazillion years. And then all of a sudden, over the last 15 years, people are like, man, there's all kinds of life around here. Nothing's dying. There's not 12-headed, deer and stuff like that. And it's become, in some ways, very much a nature sanctuary because nature was allowed to flourish there untouched. But now they're opening up new hiking trails because they say, hey, look, this is a black mark in the Ukraine. We want to kind of get past that. You think your job sucks, though? Welcome here to Chernobyl. Don't worry, though. I'm getting very much cancer. But as long as you have fun here, that'd be nice. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. My pillow. My pillow. Sleep well. About 6+ hours last night. I was out like a light. So good. So good. And it's real sleep. It's deep sleep. What is it? It's My Pillow. It's just that simple. My Pillow. Right now, 60-day money-back guarantee, so you got nothing to lose. Same amazing pillow. So you can get 2 premium pillows, less than $70. It is that amazing premium pillow. Machine washable and dryable, 10-year warranty, made right here in the USA. It's awesome. And now they want to put, they want to put it out there. You try this. You don't like it, we'll give you your money back. So you get a 60-day money-back guarantee, less than $70 for 2 premium pillows shipped directly to you for free. Call them right now, 800-983-4975. 800-983-4975. Or go to MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com. When you call and you go there, make sure you use my code Benson. That's MyPillow.com, code Benson. Hurry, the offer's not going to last forever. 60-day money-back guarantee. 2 premium pillows, less than $70. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
They are doing what any people would do, any persons would do, faced with what they're faced with. They're simply seeking a decent life for themselves and for their children.
Okay, so that right there is Chuck Schumer. If you guys don't know who he is, that's who he is right there. You guys didn't know? That was him? That's him, yeah. So deportation raids are supposed to start this weekend, and like 2,000 people they're looking. But the collateral damage, and we've talked about this, at some point in time, you're not going to allow ICE into the facilities like jails and prisons to deport people, or courthouses, and you tell people that are wanted who've gone through, like, they've gone through the legal means. I mean, they've exhausted all of their the things that they've had to do in front of a judge and say and plead out to try to get here to stay from asylum. They've exhausted every avenue, and they do not fit the criteria. Their argument does not fit the criteria of asylum here in the United States. And remember, the Democrats are saying we don't want open borders, right? What we want is to follow the law. But when they follow the law, and you want to deport them because they've gone through everything and exhausted every avenue, you're still saying no. Doesn't that sound a little open bordery? It does, right? You're not saying come here, but what we're saying is if you come here, it's okay. That's not a way to run a country. Sorry. Eventually, you're going to cease to become anything but whatever everybody else wants it to be. Well, Chad, you just hate people of color. No. I don't care if you're from Russia. I don't care where you're from. What color you are. I don't care if you're green. You flew down from the sky. You're here illegally. And you apply for asylum. Great. Okay. And you go through the process. And we tell Zip Zap from Glurgurgurger, hey, sorry, you got to get on your spaceship and leave because you haven't shown that, Glur is oppressing you in any way, shape, or form, and you coming here for economic reasons is not a reason for asylum. So, sorry, you got to go. And you get Chuck Schumer go, no, he didn't really have to go. That's wrong. He only wants a better life. What? Well, just, go steal somebody's car today and then just go, hey, Chuck Schumer, I just wanted a better car, right? I was taking the bus, or I had a bike and I decided I want a better car. Well, Chad, that's stupid. How's it any dumber than what they're suggesting? Well, I mean, it's really not. I'm just saying it just feels a little stupid, right? Like, so follow all the rules that they set out, and then when it doesn't go the way that they want it to go, just ignore that along the way. Chicago!
Right now it's a combination of drumsticks, rats, and smelt.
Yum.
Well, as far as the gator goes, that's a pretty good offering.
Yeah, yum indeed. They've got a gator in Chicago. By the way, won't last very long. How it got this big is beyond me. They're not a fan of the cold, and eventually it's going to get cold. It's a big one, though, floating around. Gators are everywhere. They're taking over the world. Get ready for it. Gators, monkeys, they're coming, people. Can't stop them. Only hope to contain them. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Your useless information of the day. Up until Melania Trump, Louise Adams. Louisa Adams is the last foreign-born First Lady. She was the first First Lady, too, who also took a huge role and managed the campaign of John Quincy Adams. Probably wouldn't have won without her. She was born in London. Have a great rest of your day. As always, I see Friday. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.